Um, can you put on your cameras, all of you attending? All right. So today is our so far. We covered planning in the United States. We talked about zoning. We talked about site plans and subdivision plans, the process involved. We talked about master plans. We talked about redevelopment plans. We did talk about writing ordinances. Um, so originally, when we planned this session, there was going to be presentations from each one of you, and so it because I wasn't able to get assignments from people, I changed the format. I didn't introduce you to a project, but I thought today's session is good because we all can interact. We can share our experiences. Any questions you have or any doubts you have, we can discuss those. What I did is I have picked up two of my case studies, or one site plan and one redevelopment plan, which I did, and I want to go over it in the first half, and then each we can share each one of your experiences in the planning field, and if anyone has any questions, we can discuss those as well in the second half of the session. So I'll just begin first with a redevelopment plan, and the reason I chose this plan is I had talked very briefly about eminent domain in as a power of redevelopment. What eminent domain means is that you can acquire somebody's property, and the redevelopment law allows you to do that. Of course, with a fair compensation. Not many municipalities want to proceed with that option, so they don't want to acquire somebody's land because one, it just it's a lengthier process. Two, obviously there's politics involved. If the land of the owners is going to be occupied, there's a fair chance that it will interfere with the if there's a lot of opposition, it interferes with the elections or the officials. It becomes a liability for the officials because they authorized the study with an eminent domain. So because of the complexities involved in the eminent domain process, it is not used as much. Majority of the planners don't want to work on eminent domain plans only because often these plans go to the courts, and there are lengthy court proceedings on it. There is a lot the planner has to testify in defense of the eminent domain, or the plan that is written using eminent domain. So I was fortunate that I had the opportunity to work on one such plan, and that is why I want to discuss that plan. The other one is a site plan review, which was a very lengthy development application, and not in the sense of the scope, because I'm working on much bigger projects elsewhere, but it was because it was a budding residential community, and there was a lot of opposition because you all know that nobody wants it in their backyard. It's often termed in the United States as NIMBYism, which means not in my backyard. So if it is elsewhere in the township, nobody has an objection. But if it is right behind me or if it's impacting me, then I do have a problem. So there was a lot of public hearings on this application because there were a lot of people who wanted to speak about it. So, and then in the process, the developer or the applicant had to go and revise the plans numerous times before it was finally acceptable to the neighboring property owners as well as the township officials. So these were two things I wanted to discuss at today's session, and then we'll just open it up. So the first one is redevelopment plan. And actually, you know what, I have the plan open, but I just want to go show you the Google Earth imagery to understand the area better too. Just bear with me 1 second. All right. On your screen is the Main Street Main Street view. So the redevelopment study actually starts, bear with me 1 second. Okay. The study starts from the First Shiloh Baptist Church. So its properties on either side. It's a lengthy area along a lot of properties involved, almost 150 properties involved. And it goes down till this intersection here, which actually is also the boundary of the neighboring town. There is a train station that is located right here, and then that's in the neighboring town. And then as you move into the city of Orange, there is again a train station in this vicinity, this area here, right here. So what you see is new development that has already happened. So the plan is in place. The plan was written 4 years back. I know that right now there is construction going on at this corner as well. And this is fully built. So I'm going to take you to the street view. All right. So here's some mixed use community. Here's the train station. And the reason I want to show this area is to show you the stark difference between the newer development and what exists right now. So long back in the 40s, this used to be like a thoroughfare. City of Orange, this main street used to connect you to bigger urban centers like Newark and New York City. There was a lot of hustle bustle. But now, if you see this area, it has a lot of issues in terms of, actually, it has a lot of scope. Wait, okay. It has a lot of scope of development, but most of these second floor offices or second floor residences are in really poor condition. That there are a lot of nefarious activities in the area, because you'll notice, see, look at these office space. This all office space is empty. It's all boarded up. You see, this is boarded up, and there are few stores. Half of them are closed. Very few functional, and then there are some historic properties along the main street as well. They have their post office, they have their city hall, they have a state building in the same redevelopment area as well. Look at the condition of the buildings. These are extremely old. This see this, all these second floor stories, everything is empty and it's all boarded up, and over the period of time, because of the lack of maintenance or underutilization, this has even further deteriorated. Look at the windows, they're all boarded up. None of the windows are openable because there is nobody living there. It's not a habitable space anymore. Maybe because of the building department or the health department, but this whole area is completely run down. Um, Look at these buildings, all empty. There are few stores that are open. You'll see these one or two stores, but then look at these stores, all of them are closed. And uh, traveling along this area is also not considered to be safe. Look at the the empty offices on the first floor. Look at the stores that are closed. And like, even during the daytime when I was doing my research and I was doing my photo survey, it didn't feel safe at all to be in the area. Forget after sundown. After sundown, I don't think it would be advisable to even visit the place. But look at these buildings. They have very good architectural features which reflect the architecture of 1940s or 50s. However, they have been poorly maintained, causing, in fact, some of the buildings are even unsafe. You cannot even enter those buildings. The building department has sealed those buildings. And moving forward again, it's the entire strip. So you will notice that along Main Street, there are sections. There is a section where there was angular on-street parking. There, the road is wider. The right-of-way width for the roads is much higher, whereas it kind of shrinks a little bit and comes to one travel lane on either side, and these parallel parking spaces. And then when you go into this area further up, there is a small landscaped island. I'll take you there, where the road divides and creates something like this. There's an island in the center. I think it would be a great place for community gatherings or public open spaces. And probably they could shut one of the streets and create like a farmers market or something to do over the weekends. But look at these um, buildings and this area. Now, you might be wondering that you see a lot of cars parked here. So it could imply that the commercial properties are still flourishing, but that's really not the case. Most of the cars parked are from commuters that travel to New York City using the train, because it is from City of Orange. It's only 20 minutes to by train to New York City. So that is why many people from even outside the city come here, park, and take the train back home. So or there was the administration was obviously interested in revitalizing the most popular downtown of the 50s, and they it was the timing was perfect because they were working on their master plan update as well. And what happened during this time is, because the master plan was process was going on simultaneously with the redevelopment work, the township actually conducted four shreds. And in those four shreds, there was advertisements sent out. They were on their website, there were postings that people can come and participate. And obviously, this was before COVID time, so people could actually come in large numbers. So that we address a bigger population, there were four shreds. And and the whole city was divided in areas. People did have a chance, if they miss one they could come to the other. So not that because it's not their area they can't come, but people came in abundance and participated, saying what do we want in this area. And majority of the people obviously wanted residences because it's close to train station. It will attract a different type of residents, because generally people who live in apartments closer to train station are not the ones who have school going kids. Most of them are smaller families, or younger folks who have little kids, so that the school doesn't matter and they can still be close to the train station. There were not many housing options in the area you saw. Most of the second floor space was office space. There were very few buildings that had residential on top, but because of the deteriorating condition of the buildings, nobody was living there, nobody was able to rent this place. There were a couple of auto repair kind of shops, and these auto repair, especially used car dealerships and stuff like that, they always attract the wrong crowd, because after evening, after 6 o'clock, it's vacant, right? Nobody's there on the campus, so it becomes like a hangout place. The same problem with the entire Main Street area. There are, you will see a lot, like I said, a lot of nefarious activities. You will see drugs, you will see crime. And obviously the township wanted to alleviate this situation, get it better, improve the tax base to most importantly. So in these shreds, when people came in, they were giving housing as an option. They were asking for department stores that are a little high end, so that it attracts that type of crowd. And obviously if you have working class residences, then you will need the supporting infrastructure, or the supporting retail use that will so that people don't have to travel out of the area, right? That's the whole point of creating a sustainable development, that you have a balance between residential and commercial properties. So then there was ideas of using that landscaped area in the center for community space, public space. It could also be used as a farmer's market. Now, for all of you, I think all of you from India, you might wonder what is the big deal about a farmer's market. But here in the United States, like we have the marketplace where you go and buy your everyday vegetables, or you go to a fish market and you buy fresh fish every day. That concept wasn't there in the past. People go to to go to a grocery store, they buy frozen stuff. There'll be a small fish market within the store, you buy from the store. So there's nothing like going to like a tela and buying vegetables. There's not that concept didn't exist. Now what is happening is, most of these communities, as they become aware of sustainability, and growing vegetables in your backyard, and eating local food, helping the local commerce to grow, people have started encouraging farmers markets. Sometimes the school itself, public schools, they rent out a tiny portion of their property on weekends for these fresh markets. These markets traditionally will not be open during the weekdays, but they're open on weekends where you can go and buy your fresh produce, whether it's vegetables, whether it's fruits. And New York City, although it's so urban, they have these market. And I, because of the COVID, last 1.5 year, I've been missing on that, because uh, my favorite thing to do over summers, because you have to remember we get only 3 months of summer, otherwise we are in the cold, right? In those 3 months, what New York City does is they will close down certain sections of the street, and they have street fairs. They have these farmers market where you can go and buy, and you really can buy even stuff like homemade cheese, different types of cheese. So there's a lot of produce that is sold in this fairs. They have like handmade bags, and they have paintings. There is a lot of stuff, but it's a place where you can go and spend the whole day, because it's usually next to a park, and spend time with your family and friends. New York City comes up with a schedule right in the beginning of a summer as to which weekends, which streets will be closed, and where, what type of fair is there. So there's like Asian fairs, there is, you'll see European stuff, you will see from different countries like South America. So they also have a theme that goes with it. Also, during Christmas time, and I think that's a concept more common in Europe. The only one place where I've seen it in Germany. I have gone to one such place, but in US, Bryant Park in New York City is one place where they have this Christmas market, and it's the same concept. There are small stalls, people are selling stuff. There is homemade food, there is handicraft, there is stuff, but it's like a place to interact. Christmas time is the best time of the year to be in New York City. It just lightens up my mood just thinking about it. There is so much happiness in air, and people, although it's extremely cold, want to go out and celebrate. So they choose Bryant Park as the Christmas market. The center of the park, actual park, they create an artificial ice skating ring. And then there are all tiny stores that are around the park, or around the ice skating ring. So most kids look forward to going and ice skating too. So such public spaces are important, and now planners or urban designers are recognizing. Yes, Javed, feel free to ask whenever you have a question.
No, no, I actually hope I'm audible.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I actually don't want to disturb the flow, but here few important points of our urban planning, particularly related to, though we are discussing on USA, because USA also started this. The markets randomly coming up, like street vendors are related to this, and markets placing is related to this. In India, I think I also want to take Apurva's inputs also into it, because New Mumbai, when it is planned, actually there are certain pockets which are given for the marketplaces. Once you go from the main road, then you will go into the branch road, then again the branch road will have a small pocket. And the governance of Mumbai is so good that other places, they will not encourage the street vendors to come in. So
Right.
because the designated place is there, and also like last class you said, the people who are earning there and selling that will also get the taxes paid to that particular municipality and locality. So that kind of stuff was happening. But unfortunately, in India,
Exactly.
particularly in urban planning, street vendors are happening because a lot of economy is also lost into that process. And markets are
Right.
not at all planned. And in COVID, what we saw is everywhere where the place is available near the corner, near the place, the market is coming up there. So which is
Yes.
creating a traffic jam and efficiency of the road. In fact, what I see is maybe because of our work schedules, I'm not getting to record it and do my work on the urban planning. Only the efficiency of the road becomes 30% because of all these markets coming up on the road.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
the bullock carts, maybe the wheels on which they sell. So particular designated point is not there. So my question
Exactly.
to yeah, my question to is it given in a urban planning that these kind of markets has to be planned in a particular locality? And the question continues, Like for example, because as you said, only 3 months is there for you to come out and do the shopping. And how do these three street vendors, what these people were doing after these 3 months? Because
Right,
3 months they
right,
do seasonal business. Like in Switzerland,
right.
what will happen?
And
Once it is sunny day, they accumulate all the wood. They will store it for the next of the season. Grass
right,
ant and grasshopper story is really connected to that.
right.
So, the Mumbai market, Mumbai planning is done in such a way that, Apurva, you can add on that point. And continuing to that is like, when we plan this is our daily need. And because of this, I think the capitalism, the number of big markets and the kind of Walmarts which are opened, you are all bringing the people to one place and do the shopping there and go back. So
Right,
at one point, what is happening? Government is also putting a magnet and getting attracted towards that economy, that people should come there and buy.
right,
But now slowly US is also moving out, because everybody, the public transport, since it is not there, like European countries purely depend on public transport. Japan
right.
purely depends on public transport. USA individual transport.
Exactly,
So this is how the
exactly.
whole idea what I was getting is like, because of the markets, what we have the daily problem is, and the COVID, what happened is the alternate business people have found out is to come onto the road and sell
Yeah,
mangoes, come onto the road and sell masks.
yeah.
The
I
alternate
mean,
market has been created. That is
I
what my
mean,
observation from
yes.
the flow, what you have said.
Right, right. And see, I was actually fortunate. There was one time, I don't remember the year, but me, it has to be somewhere around 2010 or 2011. I was visiting India, and primarily Bombay. When I visit, it's always Bombay or Kerala, one of the two. So when I was in Bombay, Bombay has something called as a Kala Ghoda festival. I'm sure people who are from Bombay are very familiar with it. And fortunately, I was visiting Bombay at that same time. And when I went there, I was like, oh, this is cool because the streets were closed. The same thing. People had the ability to go and present their art. I sometimes feel, and the more I work in the US with planning, I feel that there was a lot of damage done in terms of enabling an auto oriented type of planning in the US. And now, suddenly people are realizing the importance of walkability because I tell you, when I came to US and when I used to hear mixed use all the time, I kept wondering. I grew up in Bombay. That's what I know. I don't know any other way. I always know mixed use. My mom would even tell me, okay, go get coriander. Like small things like that. I would run to the store and get coriander. It was so easy. Whereas here today, if my 14-year-old kid, I can't send him to a store because he cannot walk to a store. There is no sidewalk to walk to the store. There is no store nearby. So unless I drive him to a place, it's not going to be possible. I think what has happened is in the last 15 years, 10 years, planners have started observing. They have started observing trends outside. They have been looking for uh, good things that have been incorporated in other places. And so there is more and more emphasis of, see, 20 years back, nobody even talked about urban design. The architect planned the outside realms of the building, right? So then slowly there were planners were already always there, but planners were supposed to be more like government employees who went through the rules and regulations that were crafted, but they were not like visionaries at that time. Now you have urban designers that really focus on the outer space, the outer realm. So there is a lot of importance. People like me give a lot of importance on public spaces when we create them. Like something very simple. Recently, I was in South Carolina and I was walking through the downtown. Even the office buildings in main urban centers, they're trying to create smaller outer spaces where people can gather. If nothing else, they can have their lunch while they're during their weekday. They can sit outside and have lunch outside and interact with people. There is special focus when you're writing redevelopment plans to create common public spaces so that they can be used for multiple things. I think with India, what happened is because we were always mixed use, and there were never, I wouldn't say there were never these markets, but the problem is they need to be re-evaluated. Because if you look at Bombay has a Crawford Market. It's like a hub of shopping, right? But and there are people who walk to Crawford Market to buy stuff, people who live in and around. I all my architecture life, I used to go all the time to buy all my stationery to the fort area. I know Apurva is
Yes,
nodding; she can
yes.
completely relate to what I'm saying. So there were these marketplaces, but what has happened is, over years, as development has taken over, people have become greedy too, right? Because everybody wants to build on every inch of land. So there is lesser importance given to the surroundings. Last night I just watched, and it's funny I bring this up, but last night I just watched the movie Sherni that came on Prime. And my son is big into animals and conservation and environment. So I watched the movie, and it is so true. Like, urban development has taken over so much. All of us have become so greedy in monetizing or getting more money out of the land that we pay very little attention to conservation. Now, in the last, I mean, we, in the sense, it was 10-15 years back. Now people are more aware. There are conservationists, there are environmental people who work towards saving the environment, as well as creating more architects are focusing on sustainable development. So the newer design I see do have these open spaces. The pandemic obviously threw everything for a toss. To be very honest, I had posted some presentations related to post pandemic or pandemic planning. And in that, we as planners in United States, all of us were thinking as to how can we best use the outdoors. Like, I remember my own township, what they did is, the school property is always a huge property, right? You always have a playground. So what they did is they put up drive-in movie theaters. Apurva, I don't know if you have seen it in Bombay, somewhere near the sea, because I remember as a kid when I used to go with my grandfather, I've seen it in that Mahalakshmi area. There was a drive-in theater. Often, when you passed by, you could see the screen and you could see a movie running. This, now in the pandemic, people are going back to that, those concepts. These schools were converted to have drive-in theaters. Everybody was allotted a parking spot. There were tickets issued, and you could sit on the trunk of your own car and watch TV with kids. There were local food vendors who were issued temporary permits to come there. And you could, from your phone, you could place an order for, like, chicken wings, onion, pizza, whatever. And they were getting delivered at those spots, so that kids could enjoy some fun time outside. They won't miss so much on theaters. So I think, I mean, although it's unfortunate we have lost so many lives to the pandemic, but I always try to look at what has come out good out of it also. And one, I feel all of us have, excluding me because I never worked from home throughout the pandemic, but most of you who got to work from home also, to some extent, got to spend some quality time with family, right? Because having dinners together was impossible. Like in Bombay, it's very hard to have dinner together because each one works at a different schedule. But now people were in same house, you could spend more time. There were so many beautiful advertisements, and I always credit India completely for the advertisements they come up with. One of the smartest advertisements, and I mean, till date I miss all the advertisement in India that came up, because during the pandemic a few of them were forwarded through WhatsApp, and very beautiful ones saying that how you're spending time at home, how for the first time you're able to enjoy monsoon while being in your house and not being in a local train or stuck in a local train in monsoon rains. So I think this is a good learning lesson for all us planners, to think out of the box, to think of these unusual situations. Planning, I think, is the most important tool. Like, we as planners, we God has given us the power. We have also, I mean, it's not just God, but we also have kind of specialized in, so we should be at the forefront and come up with these spaces. We are the ones who are the future. Whatever we design now, we're going to leave it for our kids, right, to enjoy. So these open spaces, these pedestrian plazas, as they are called, or farmers markets, they all are becoming more and more popular. If you there is where I went to, like NYU has a park in the center. It's bang in the middle of New York City, and that park is always, even before the pandemic, summertime you go, you will see even musicians, people playing violin in the park. Um, you will see vendors along the park who are selling food. It's like the most happening thing. People are playing with their kids. Very safe, very walkable. There are a lot of sidewalks within the park itself, so that you can just stroll around without coming across vehicles. So I feel as we go, there will be more and more emphasis. It is our responsibility as planners to write plans that create such sustainable, walkable developments. So this redevelopment plan, I'm going to share it now with you. It's online too. If anybody wants to,
Veena,
yes, go ahead.
yeah, Veena, I just wanted to know, when you are assessing a particular site
Uh-huh.
for redevelopment, right? What
Right.
is the criteria that you all have as a checklist that due to which you'll say, okay, this site is now, it's high time, it's sent for redevelopment. What makes you
Perfect.
feel? Is there a
Perfect.
kind of a set of parameters or checklist in
Yes.
making an appraisal of a site?
So what happens is, most of these states in the
Right,
United States, like, they
right.
have come up with their own redevelopment law. So
Okay,
and I mean, I don't think they will be, New Jersey will be very different from some Florida or some other state. The only thing is that redevelopment occurs where there is older development, right? So New Jersey is always considered one of the states that is at the forefront of redevelopment, because we have older structures in New Jersey. So when the law was written, the redevelopment law was written, they came up with 8 criteria. And unless the property meets any one of those 8 criteria, you cannot assign it as a redevelopment site. So that is why redevelopment planning is like a twofold process. And the first half is the study, where you designate the area. Sometimes what happens is, the planner undertakes the study, he or she will find out that it doesn't meet any of the 8 criteria, and then you make a recommendation to the administration that no, this does not meet. Now, each of the criteria is, it covers every area. So if you look at a criteria A, actually, you know what, since you've asked me this, can you bear with me for a second? I will pull up the criterias. um,
do you have a document, or do you have a
yeah,
kind of a
yeah,
ready list
yes,
you
yes.
could refer
Give
to?
me, yeah. Give me 1 second, because I know
Because
it's.
what happens is, suppose if we, and can it be applied to, say, the Indian context, or is it a
See,
tailor
there
rule
has to be, there has
for
to be.
America?
See, I don't think so, because it is general laws,
Right.
or general signs that one, the health and the public safety of the people is at
At
risk,
risk. Right.
right?
Right.
So if the building is dilapidated, of course it
Okay.
will meet the redevelopment criteria, right?
Right, right.
So
So
if
when it has crossed its life, perhaps, right? The building
yes,
life.
yes,
All
yes.
right, okay.
So
So
give me one
along with
second.
that, there are any other more
Yeah,
criterias
yeah,
that
yeah. One,
qualifies it for a redevelopment kind of a process?
yes, give me one second.
Right,
I'm just pulling them up.
right, right, sure. Because here in Goa, I mean, in our state, I mean, they just about redevelop anything and everything. So I
No,
don't really know whether there is any kind of a law in place, or there is a kind of a set criteria, when it comes to redevelopment and all that,
okay.
And even if they
So
do a redevelopment, have they done a proper thorough study of the precinct, and
right,
then
right.
accordingly formulated bylaws or ordinances?
See, in New Jersey, it is very, very stringent,
Right.
and
Others. Okay.
so it all comes under the redevelopment law. But these are the criterias I was talking about. So the criteria A, just focus on it.
Right.
It is the generality of the buildings are substandard, unsafe, unsanitary, dilapidated, or
Okay.
obsolete. Or
Okay.
and the last part is the most important, as to
Right.
be conducive to unwholesome living or working condition.
Okay.
So if the building is dilapidated
Right.
and there is no light and ventilation, the bathrooms are it's unsanitary and
Right.
unsafe, you
Right.
could assign criteria A.
Okay.
Then it comes to discontinuance of commercial buildings. So what happened is, in the last few years,
Yeah.
many of the commercial buildings where there is, see, what people don't understand, and it is very hard to explain it to the officials, because they are worried about school kids being produced by residential use, and how much will we spend on the school infrastructure. So they have their own concerns, they have traffic as the concern. But what they don't realize is a commercial use will flourish only when there are people to use it. And
Right.
if you don't have residences close to it, they
Right.
are going to fail. And
Right.
right now, with the pandemic, commercial properties being vacant is going so high that this is not the most updated criteria B. In criteria B, they have now added that any retail complex that is shut down or is vacant for more than 1 year or more than 2 years, you can apply the criteria B to it. And because in Old Bridge, there, like the place I work, there is a strip mall wherein they're not able to find tenants. And they're not able to find tenants because I started doing the redevelopment study on it. They're not able to find tenants because they are planned based on the planning of 1970s, where it was completely auto driven, right? So there is a
Right.
huge sea of parking in front of
Right.
the store. But
Okay.
because of that, what happened is the store is so further set back that it cannot be even seen from the road.
Right.
So
Right.
how will you know that there is a pizza place, or how will you know that there is a grocery store there if you're not seeing it? But
Correct.
if today's planning calls for building the moving the buildings much closer to the street, right?
Right.
Only
Right.
then will they be seen. So
Right.
those strip malls are failing, and
Right.
the changed or the amended law allows you to assign a criteria now to it.
Right.
Then the third one is, if you have a township owned or a county owned or the redevelopment authority owned parcel that
Right.
is vacant and has remained vacant for more than 10 years, then you
Right.
can assign criteria C.
Right. Okay.
Then the next one,
Right.
D, criteria D is actually so impressive that it covers
Right.
everything. So, which means that if you have almost 100% impervious coverage,
Correct.
or if you have any use that is not a great use on the property, if the
Right.
site layout is based on the planning of 1970s, it's obsolete at this current situation, there is overcrowding, there is lack of ventilation, there is lack of landscaping, there is lack
Right.
of even fencing. All
Right.
these you can assign criteria D. So
Perfect.
majority of the redevelopment studies you do, those sites will meet criteria D because they are planned based on the planning of for 40 years back, right?
Right.
So this is a useful one. Then criteria E, it
Right.
talks about property valuations. So if the tax department maintains a property evaluation, right, how much
Right.
improvements you have done and what is the current value. So if your current value is equivalent to the land value, or is if it is less than 0.47, which means you have not reinvested in your property, you haven't maintained the property well, because it's a sign of not maintenance, so then it gives you to assign criteria E. Then you have natural disaster, flood, cyclone, earthquake, that is criteria F. So any of this, if it is more than 5 acres and any of this has affected a storm, then you can
Right.
apply criteria F.
Right.
Now, urban enterprise zone. So the state has come up with areas that
Right.
are under UEZ. What
Correct. Right.
UEZ does is they have special taxing. So
Okay.
if you shop within this UAZ areas, right, the
Right.
tax is lower, so that it
Right.
encourages people to spend more in these areas. And the
Right.
state has come up with, they have done their research analysis, and they have designated certain areas in the state as areas that are under UEZ.
Right.
So if you're under UEZ, it already means that there is some sort of deterioration. That's why you are in USZ. USZ, the property is not generating as much taxes. It's not
What is the
flourishing.
full form of UAC?
It's right here on the screen, Urban Enterprise Zone,
Ah,
UEZ.
UEZZA. Okay.
Yeah. So these properties also meet. And then there is criteria H, where smart growth planning principles apply. So if there is a train station, and the area around the train station obviously is mapped as a smart growth planning area based on the state plan. The state plan has included it as smart growth area. So if you're within the smart growth area, then again you can apply criteria H. Now,
Right.
in addition to these 8 criteria, there is
Correct.
one more criteria that says that if suppose there are 3 parcels in a row, okay,
Right.
let's call them 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
So parcel 1 meets criteria for redevelopment.
Right.
Parcel 3 meets criteria for redevelopment. But
Okay.
parcel 2 does not meet any of the above 8 criteria.
Right.
In that sense, for sound planning of the whole area, the law allows you to include that property, the second property, in the redevelopment study as well. Now, just because it's in this redevelopment study and it is in the redevelopment plan doesn't mean that this person who owns property 2 has to go through redevelopment. He's
Okay.
given the ability to take advantage of the redevelopment plan. But
Right.
somebody who's stubborn can say, okay, I will not budge, I will not move, I will not sell my piece.
Right.
Then it is a choice of the township or the
Right.
governing body whether they
Right.
want to use the power of eminent domain.
Right.
What happens is, in eminent domain, the township decides, okay, we are using the power of eminent domain, which means we are going to take away the land by force. If you're not
Right.
willing to sell it to the redeveloper, we are going to
Right.
take away.
Right.
But it's a fair process. The
Right.
property owner is notified in advance, so
Right.
he has time to think whether he wants to
Right.
sell it or not.
Right.
Then the township conducts a property evaluation. So there is a thorough property valuation.
Okay.
They come up with the price of the property. So it's not like they
Value.
snatch up
Right.
for free. So the owner does get monetary compensation, but
Right.
he has, once the township comes up with a property valuation, the township sends the check to the property owner for the price of his property. He
Right.
has 14 days to
Right.
go and appeal to the court. So he
Right.
can go to the court if he wishes to and say that, no, I'm not accepting this and I want to file a lawsuit against the township. So
Right.
he
Right.
gets 14 days. But in
Right.
14 days, If he thinks that, the lawsuit is a very lengthy process, then
Correct.
he might just sell it up to the redeveloper, not the township, because the
Of,
township redeveloper is always going to pay more than the
of
township,
course.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
has the option to either
Right.
sell it to the township or go back to the redeveloper and
Right.
sell it.
Now
So,
tell me, yeah, yeah. Veena, also one question is, suppose if in
Nisha,
a
can I
township, yeah,
interrupt?
yeah, sure, sure, go
Can
ahead,
I
go ahead.
interrupt
Sorry,
for a
sorry,
second?
sorry. Yeah,
I just need to take a break for 1 minute
yeah, yeah,
because
sure.
I need to just check on my son. Just give me one
Yeah, yeah,
second.
sure, no problem. Go ahead.
Hi, Nisha.
Um,
Good evening. Javed here. Where
yeah,
are
hi,
you
Javed,
actually?
right. This person from Alternate Angle Academy, are you there? I can only see the name Alternate Angle Academy. Who's sitting behind
Yeah,
the
I'm
screen?
here. Actually, Rutuja is down today because of her COVID vaccine, so I'm filling in
Okay,
for
okay.
her.
What's your name, please?
I'm Snehal.
Snehal, right, yeah. Snehal, you were the one calling me, I guess. I don't know.
No, Rutuja must be calling you.
Ah, okay, okay. No, because what happened is I just want to ask you is what are the assignments that are pending for this certification of this particular course?
You have to check I'm not exactly aware what she has uploaded, but you have to
Right.
check your student login and see what is
No,
pending.
because on the student login, nothing is appearing. That's the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've clicked on what you call it, the submissions and discussion. The
hmm
assignment is missing. I
Let me check.
submitted the first one.
Yeah, let me check. Actually, I am not sure if Veena has
So,
given any assignments after
so
that.
Javed, what did Veena give us as a second assignment? If you could just tell us.
No, even I reported the same because my login has the issue. So because of
Right.
her COVID vaccine, I was not able to follow up with her.
Right,
Same
right.
thing
No,
I
but
also
she had given
updated her.
something on a plan she had given, I remember.
Yeah, I can
And
see. I'll just share my screen right now.
right, right, right. Because I know she had given us a plan and she had asked us to comply, check for compliances,
Mhm.
as per
Yeah,
the
that was I
ordinance of
think
that particular
initial and
stage.
second assignment. Yeah.
County,
After
yeah, the
that, I
second
think
one.
Veena has
Second.
not given any assignment. Yeah.
There's one more,
No, only but that initial plan only.
only initial plan, right? So just two. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
See,
yes.
this is the assignments that she has given.
Oh, all
So,
these?
yeah, this is
I'm
first
not,
assignment. So, this
no,
is
but,
first assignment.
but Snehal, in my all this is not featuring. I don't know what's the
No, it
problem.
will feature. It will
Ah,
surely feature.
assignments. Oh, okay, okay, okay. I
So,
missed that
assignment,
column.
this is, yeah, this is
Right,
first
right,
and
right,
this
right,
is first
right.
assignment. This is
Oh,
second
and the
assignment
second
she
one,
has
right.
given.
That's all, right?
And
Okay.
I don't see any other. So,
Ah, okay, okay. I had not seen that. I'm so sorry. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
Okay,
all these
fine.
are readings. You can go
Right.
through that.
Yeah, that I
Then
downloaded.
recordings
Right.
here
Yeah,
on the
recordings
extreme
I'm
right.
following. Right,
Yeah.
right. I missed the middle column. Right. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, fine. Ah, okay. Yeah, it is there. All right, okay. The second assignment is part of the second topic, which is, I think, what is the second topic? Land use planning and zoning, right? Under that heading,
Yes.
land
Yes.
use planning and zoning. Perfect, right? Okay, fine, fine, fine. Right, okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Javed, have you, so, and the rest, Apurva and all of you, all, have you submitted this?
No, no, no time for that.
Snehal, is it important to submit this for the certification? What is it? Because she had changed the format to discussions, open-ended.
It is completely instructor's call what she wants to do.
Right,
So
right. Okay.
she'll have to. You can talk to her about it,
Right, right.
and she's the final authority to tell us who should get
Certify.
what
Right, right.
kind of certificate. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Perfect. Right, right. Training, 2021, urban planning, campus planning, assignments. Yeah, right. Okay. And Snehal, just one last question. For how long will this login credentials of ours be valid? Because if you want to watch these videos after say about a week or 2 weeks, can we still watch them
Up to 3 months after
up
the
to three
course is
months, right?
yeah, yeah. After
Okay,
the course is
starting
over.
from the date of the course, starting course,
Starting from the date of the start
the
date of the
start date
course.
of the course. Okay, fine, for 3 months. Okay, perfect, right.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry, guys. Uh, Actually, you know what? Before I forget, one of
Right.
you had asked me for my email address, right? So
Yes, yes, yes.
the best way to reach me is I'm on LinkedIn. Kokila Vani had reached me the same way. Had just put in a message for me.
LinkedIn.
Yeah,
All
and
right,
that's the best way to reach
right,
out because I have the messenger on and I keep checking my messages. So
all
that
right,
would be the best way to reach out to me. All of you, please stay in touch and feel free to reach
I
out
will.
whenever possible. And yes, so again, talking about the law. So once the in the first step process, once you have designated the area as redevelopment, there is a
Right,
public hearing. The public gets to give their input, whether they have a problem. Generally, I have not seen, unless it is eminent domain, I have
right,
not seen people objecting, because the biggest benefit with redevelopment is redevelopment and rehabilitation is that they get a tax exemption. So if they are rehabilitating their property, they get
right,
tax exemption for 5 years. So you don't have to pay property taxes for five
right,
years.
right,
But if you are in redevelopment, then up to 30 years of tax exemption you get on a project. So what happens is the developer comes up with a developer and the township comes up with an
right,
agreement. It's called a pilot agreement.
right,
So the pilot, actually, they will decide once the
right,
development is built, the taxes are much higher, right?
right, right,
So they will come up with an average tax which the township is comfortable with which the redeveloper is comfortable with. And this also takes into account all the infrastructure improvements that the redeveloper is required to make, so that it's even fair to him, whatever price is assigned. But then
Bread
a
वगैरह दो
fixed
दो.
they come up with a fixed tax for the next few years. And that's why people want to be in a redevelopment area. Developers will always reach out to the township and say, is the township interested in doing a redevelopment study or designating the area, because we feel that it meets the criteria. And then the township says, okay, we'll have the planner look at it, and then the planner prepares the whole study. If it is not uh, you cannot assign a redevelopment area, then
right,
obviously it goes for a toss. Then you can just go as a applicant and file a land application.
right,
Then after the study is designated as an area in need of redevelopment, you work on the redevelopment plan, and you come up with a plan that actually tells you what type of land use can go there,
correct, right,
what you need to create. So
right,
actually, in front of you, one
right,
second, I just want to share my screen where I have the Main Street plan.
right.
This plan is also online, so you can actually,
Veena, can you share with me what you showed us earlier on the criteria
yeah,
of the
yeah,
law?
yeah, you know
Can you
what,
tell us at least a site where we can, get to
one
just one,
second.
right, right. Just put it in
uh,
the chat.
yeah,
Right,
that's what I'm doing. I'm actually
right, right.
putting it in the stop
So we can
share.
refer to it at a later point.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
that's the link. Okay,
Okay, fine.
so oh, one second. I think I lost my tab for Main Street. Okay, here we are. So this is the redevelopment plan. So there was a redevelopment study. If you go to the township's website, City of Orange, New Jersey redevelopment, if you put that, you will see the study as well as the plan. So if you're
Right,
interested in seeing how the area was designated, the study is
right,
put up as well. But this is usually the format of the plan.
right.
You will have first the
What's it?
background, the
What's it
introduction.
called? You said the site is
This is Main Street.
Main Street. No, no, no. I mean the file, the site name, website name.
Yeah, the city, if you Google search for City of Orange,
Can you
New
put that in the
Jersey.
chat as well?
Yeah,
Just put
yeah.
the URL in the chat.
So give me 1 second. I don't have the URL open, but give me
Right.
one. Uh,
So njplanning.org. This I've got right.
Orange.
Do you all consider when you all do these redevelopment plans? Do you all consider the environment and climate, regional climate, as an important parameter for development?
Yes, actually, now, not originally, like
Right.
in 10 years back, we did
Right.
plans. They were
Right.
not so much required.
Correct.
Uh,
Right.
I just put the link.
Right.
So, but in the recent years, there is a lot of talk about climate change and environment. I mean,
Right.
environment, the laws have become stringent since 2012.
Right.
Because the State Department of Environmental Protection, they came up with their new laws, and they were very,
Right.
very strict when it comes to encroaching into like lands that are environmentally sensitive, whether it's
Right.
wetlands or if they are habitat rich.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so environmental laws were already there, but now there is a lot of focus on regional impact of the
Correct. Right.
development. So right as I speak to you, there is a bill in the state which requires that when there is bigger developments like warehousing that
Right.
impact the regional traffic and the regional job, so you have to have a regional plan, and you have to involve the neighboring towns that get impacted with the
Right.
traffic as well. So
Okay.
there is
Fine.
more awareness now that
Right.
it's beyond the borders of the township.
Right.
The municipal land use law always
Right.
requires you
Right.
to coordinate with the neighboring town. So
Right.
any redevelopment plan that a township undertakes, you have to notify your neighboring towns as is.
Right.
So the neighboring town, the planner gets a copy, he
Right.
reviews it, because
Right.
sometimes if I am proposing something that is completely against their master plan or against what they desire in their
Right.
township,
Right. Right.
they can always object, and they can always come and at the
Oh,
public hearings and oppose it.
correct.
So
Right.
in this case, this is, oh, did I lose it again? Maybe I did. Uh, okay, so here's the format where you have introduction to the site, and you have to come up with the uh, site boundary. The site boundary is consistent with what you have in the redevelopment study where the
Right.
area was designated.
Right.
And then you go through all the photo survey to create a background. Now this one has a rich history. Like I said, there was a time when it was a thoroughfare and it was a big hub, but not anymore. You will see in
Right.
this map, there is transit locations, 2 train stations, and the
Right.
quarter-mile radius, which is
Right. Right.
considered as the most comfortable walking radius. Then
Correct.
you will see NJ Transit bus stops along
Right.
Main Street, because there are multiple bus stops. Actually,
Right.
this big piece property, do you see where I'm hovering around? That
Right.
is a municipal building. It's
Okay.
the township's city hall.
Right.
And
Right.
if you, so then you talk about how it is consistent with the master plan, because the master plan was amended at the same time I said, right? And they conducted 4 shreds. So
Right.
all this was already part of the master plan. Then this
Right.
is the history behind this area, and there are
Right.
historic buildings as well.
Right.
Then is the plan area. It lists all the block and lot numbers.
Correct.
So there were 148 parcels within 2.2 square miles of the area. So the whole area was going to be redeveloped. Now, if you look at the existing land use, There
Right.
were only two apartment buildings. There were neighborhood commercial district, which means it's like retail use that supports the neighboring residential properties.
Right.
And then this blue was
Right.
already designated as
Right.
an area for NJ Transit Village designation, which means that the state gives this designation once you're close to a train station. And
Right.
the designation is not just for namesake. What
Right.
happens is the Federal Transit Authority. So
Right.
this is like a authority that runs
Right.
the federal funds.
Right.
They allot X amount of dollars every
Right.
year for development and planning of these areas near train
Okay.
stations. So if you're designated as a transit
Right.
village, then you can apply for those grants.
Right.
You cannot apply if you're not designated as a transit village. So the designation is very important to get funding, or because see, the developer obviously will put into the infrastructure because he wants to develop, right? But at the same time, there are services like train station. Why will he remodel the train station for you, right? For that you need some funds, or a municipal parking garage. Why will
Right.
somebody else, he will pay some portion towards it as development fees, but not the entire thing, right? So you
Right.
always need government funding also for such things, especially transit village. Now you notice this whole area was, I had mentioned, it is three segments. So red one is where you have those angular parallel parking spaces.
Right.
The green one is where you have on street parking. The yellow is where it is much narrower and you don't have as much parking on site. So
Right.
basically these three segments in the plan were
Is this
based
a
on,
heritage precinct or something? The same thing, right? What you showed us earlier.
yes, it's the same thing. Actually, I will go into the historic part as well.
No, because
Because,
why is the road like non-uniform along its path?
see, this is because they have been developed over years, right?
That's what I'm saying.
And
So it's basically probably very old, right?
very exactly.
Right.
See,
Right.
the redevelopment only happens in mostly older areas, right?
Correct.
So
Right.
these are areas which, if you look at their tax map, right? I think there
Right.
is a tax map. Give me 1 second. Because the right of way is defined in that, but that's not how
Okay.
the development is occurred. Give me
Okay.
1 second. I know I have the tax map
Because the
somewhere.
figure ground of all old cities and old townships are they're pretty very irregular and organically grown
Exactly.
over time, you
Exactly.
know.
You know
Right.
what? I know there was a tax map somewhere in this, but let
This is the
me
same
see.
thing from the site, no? Orange County.
Yeah, it's same thing.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Okay.
but there was a tax map I had seen, which
Right.
actually, maybe it was in the study, not in the
Right.
um, redevelopment plan,
Right.
maybe. So anyways, but the street right of way is marked, and that
Right.
would be a part of the circulation plan. So
Right.
those areas would be, the roadway width is
Right.
always included in the circulation map of the township as to how
Right.
do you want the hierarchy to be,
Right.
a street hierarchy.
Right.
And in this case, because it's
Right.
existing, we had
Right.
marked it up. And so basically when the plan was written, right,
Right.
the one that is on red was like
Right.
very high density, because that's the
Okay.
closest to the
Right.
train station, which is right here. The
Right.
train station is right here, sorry.
Right.
So that is why this was, I think the density was almost 120 units per acre.
Right.
So it is
Right.
pretty dense, like
Okay.
12-story buildings. Now, then you come up with the area issues. Although you have done with the area study, you still have to recite these issues, and you'll see all the pictures showing what problems exist
Right.
on this stretch of land. And then you write the new plan, so the new district overview.
Right.
So you come up with your goals and objectives, like what do you
Right.
want to see in the area,
Correct.
and you'll see first one, promote transit oriented development. That is when you want to create like public plazas and
Right.
pedestrian walkways to the transit.
Right.
And all these are the newer goals. Then you have
Right.
to show comparison to the township's master plan,
Right. Right.
to the state's master plan,
Right.
to the smart growth areas, to the urban enterprise zone areas. You
Right.
have to show consistency, that this plan
Right.
is consistent.
Right.
Then the statutory requirements, that it has to be approved by the council and it has
Correct.
to
Right.
go to the planning board.
Right.
Then you write, then you create this new land use plan. So
Right.
now the land use plan, if you notice, is
Right.
divided in three areas.
Right.
It's A, B, and C. Now, B is the most critical to the city because it's closest to the train station.
Right.
Then, when you go to A
Right.
was created because the church that exists on that property is
Okay.
a historic church.
Okay. It's
And
a heritage.
yes, so the challenge with this area, and the reason I chose this plan today was because it had every element. It
Okay.
had a eminent domain. It had properties that were historic in nature. So
Right.
any new development that occurs has to still maintain the historic character, right? So there were
Right.
special standards written for rehabilitation or revitalization of that area. So now this is criteria A, which is for the church, and it comes
Right.
up with bulk standards.
Veena, where can we get the definition, the actual technical definition of eminent domains?
You know what, if you look up in the redevelopment law, see, I think the
Ah, it's
best
in the
way to
redevelopment law,
understand,
really?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think my suggestion to you would
Right.
be just put in New Jersey redevelopment and housing, local redevelopment and housing law, and
Okay.
you will find a lot of reading material on the law. You
Okay.
will, just like this plan, you
Right.
will see multiple other plans for reference,
Right.
but some of them are outdated in the sense they were written like 10-15 years back, which need to be
Right.
revisited. So
Right.
these were the most current that you could see. And
Right.
what you'll notice in this district A, because there's an existing church,
Right.
you still allow other uses, so that at some point, because right now what I'm seeing is many of these churches are failing in membership, like they don't
Right.
have as much membership. There will be some popular churches, but the smaller ones or the older ones, they
Correct.
don't have enough membership to be able to sustain, and
Right.
those are closing down.
Right.
And or like two different church will combine together and people will
Right.
start using one and the other
Right.
one closes down. So
Right. Right.
redevelopment of the churches has also become a very common aspect.
Right.
So here we are creating a new district which
Right.
obviously allows houses of worship, so the church can
Correct.
continue to be a church,
Right.
or they have the opportunity to go and get something new developed on the property. So
Right.
demolish everything and have a new development. So
Right.
these were standards written for the district A.
Right.
Then it was district B, which was more transit oriented. You will notice
Right.
that the building coverage, the impervious coverage is at 95%. The number of stories you can build is 10-story. And then I know
Right.
there was some density bonus that was applied too. The
Right.
density here is 200 acres per
Right.
dwelling units.
Right.
So then you come to District C, which is further away from the train station.
Right.
Now, here they also were allowing like drive-through restaurants or uh, a gas station with convenience store type of uses that are
Right.
still service oriented, but they
Correct.
don't really belong to the main downtown. They
Right.
should be there around, but not really right in the center. So
Correct.
those districts, those uses were allowed in this district, and you will see the bulk table for it. Again, it's the number of stories is 10, 95%. the density is higher, but then the type of uses that are permitted are slightly different. They will allow drive-throughs as conditional uses. So here you see the
Right.
conditional use fast food restaurant with drive-throughs, freestanding fast food restaurants, retail convenience with fueling service,
Right.
funeral homes. So these would be permitted. And then there were design guidelines for each of these. First, there was conditions for the conditional uses. So
Correct.
when it is your gas stations and
Right.
these have conditions
Right.
associated, so those conditions were listed.
Right.
Then comes the so these are the general design guidelines: the site axis, the building orientation, the
Right.
building facades. So when it's a garage, they want like a green wall,
Right.
green roof,
Right.
because here you can't have like green type of open space, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
there was a lot of discussion on that, and this is the architecture. What type of architecture do you want to see in the area? Now comes the historic overlay design standard. So if the building is cited as a historic building in the redevelopment, sorry, not in the redevelopment, the historic master plan, because there is always a historic preservation master plan. And basically what happens with the historic preservation master plan is sometimes, like the one I had showed you in the past where there are a lot of master plans, that one, the township doesn't have as many historic buildings, and that is why they don't have a special committee that reviews it. They don't
Right.
have an ordinance that dictates what can be developed or what
Right.
cannot
Right.
be developed on those properties. But there are some towns like City of Orange that have a historic review commission.
Right.
Just
Okay.
like a planning board and the zoning board, there is a historic review commission, and they review the plans as well. So
Right.
if it
Right.
is a historic building and
Right.
it's on the National Register of Historic Places,
Right.
then only rehabilitation is allowed. You can
Okay.
only do facade, improvements which are in sync with the design standards of the historic district. You can't just go and demolish the building and do whatever you want unless it
Okay.
is structurally not stable or unsafe for
Right.
anybody to use. You still maintain the historic character. So
Okay.
these design standards actually were written to preserve any historic sites within the area which have to be
Right.
maintained. There was adaptive reuse that was encouraged for historic buildings. So
Right.
it
Right.
could have been an old industrial building um, that is structurally sound but is not the use doesn't exist anymore or has been abandoned. So these buildings are repurposed, and they create loft style apartments within the building, but the structure or the framework of the building is maintained as is. So the historic value of the building remains the same, but structural changes, like they put those floating floors and stuff like that internally to be able to use the property better. But
Right.
from outside it still looks rich in heritage and maintains the historic character. You look at those three buildings there, those were historic buildings that
Right.
are integrated, the design is integrated with the newer development.
Right.
So
Okay.
that is adaptive reuse, a new concept. And all these standards were written. There were stringent requirements for signage too, because this
Right.
area is in a historic district. So you cannot have any sign the way you want it. It has to have some character. They have to be attractive. They can't be the neon sign flashing, lights. So the design standards and the requirements for the signs was also elaborately written. Then there was circulation plan where it showed the model of how you want the travel lanes to be, how wide the bike lane, there should be a bike lane, and then there should be on-street parking and how it will be arranged. So all these sections were discussed in detail.
Right.
importance of sidewalks so that there is outdoor dining. See, the I think there is a concept, and I'm sure you guys have heard about it,
Right.
crime prevention through environmental design. It's called CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design, which means that if you have more glass facade on the ground floor, then you have actually eyes on the street. People are watching, because these are areas where there are a lot of nefarious activities, right, like drug dealing or mugging. And so when you have a blank or building facade, then there is nobody watching you. So
Right.
that's the areas which encourage such nefarious activities. Whereas if you have large display windows, you have huge glasses, then you can see what's going on outside, right? So you have eyes on the street, and it becomes much safer. The lighting is
Right.
important, so all this, there was focus in all this and was included as part of the circulation.
Right.
And then you'll see eminent domain, little information about exactly what I explained, that there's a fair compensation, and there is a valuation that they come up with. It is never less than the property value. And what happened in this eminent in this plan were, the planner came up with areas that will be acquired using eminent domain. And these were properties that not necessarily met the criterias for redevelopment. However, they were quite essential for the redevelopment of the entire area. If we don't redevelop those, then it is going to be an eyesore. It is going to, decrease the property value. So here you have to identify which properties will be condemned, so that later on, once the plan is adopted, the
Right.
township can go forward and conduct the valuation and
Right.
make an offer to these owners. So this plan is fully functional. It was executed. Development has already begun in this corner right here.
Right.
And maybe in 10 years you will see a very different downtown for city of Orange. I'm pretty optimistic about it. So that was one plan.
Right.
Actually, we are close to 11 o'clock. So I mean, my 11 o'clock, not yours.
Right. Right.
I completely forgot
You
about it.
want to wind up or something?
So we have half an hour. I
Right.
think I was going to go through one site plan, but
Right.
I think we can have an open discussion session too, because
Right.
there is so much we can learn from each other, right? So
Right.
since
Right.
this is this last class,
Right.
I think we should open it up. Each one
Right.
of you can talk about your experiences. We all can interact and share
Right.
views, so that that would be a great closing to the session. And
Right.
again, all of you feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn anytime you have any questions, guidance, or any information you need anytime, which is on the United States side. Please feel free. I
Right.
am a member of the American Planning Association, so I have access to a lot of reading material or
Okay.
information, even for guidance. So
Right.
anytime you are doing a project and you need something, or you need something specific, feel free to reach out. I do use GIS. Any questions in GIS, you can reach out to me. I'm not a pro. I took few courses when I was in NYU, and then it was baptism by fire. I was just thrown into it, and I started working on it. So although everybody says I'm like a specialist, I'm really not a specialist. I have just figured it out, but I can help with basic stuff as well.
Right.
So, let's open it. I think Apurva, you've been quiet. I know you practice as a planner, and your experience, something that helps all of us,
Actually, I need to add something which asked by Javed firstly about
Okay.
the markets. Actually, that time I was not able to talk. So,
Okay.
in the market of, in Mumbai, if you see, government has some proposals to they are designing and developing proper market space for the people. But the thing is, as a citizen, people are encouraging the the hoppers and everything. So like the street vendors, the citizens are encouraging everything because basically, if you study the site like entire Mumbai as a city, so major marketplaces are developing near the station areas because people are traveling and they are very like marketplaces uh, mm, having marketplaces near station. It is very convenient.
Can- Yeah.
And if you see about the residential areas, even though you have the proper big marketplaces, people do have small, vendors at the your near to your residence. So even where I do live in Mumbai, I live far away from the station. So going in Malad, they have the proper market building. They have the vegetable, the building for vegetable people, the fish market. They have it, but it is very like the distance is very far, so I don't go there. So whatever convenient for me is to go near to the building and just get the stuff from me. So basically
Apurva, but Apurva, I'm sorry to cut you off, but
yeah.
question. So when newer projects are built, like on the outskirts, right? Since that this is an observation which most planners make. Why are sidewalks not given the due importance they should be given? Because I feel that if the observation is that people are using or buying stuff from the street vendors on the street instead of creating a traffic jam or going on to the streets, there should be more importance on widening those sidewalks. Instead of having a 6-foot sidewalk, you have a 10-foot sidewalk so that there is other street activity on the sidewalk as well, which doesn't interfere with the traffic, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would like to tell you that whatever one planning project we are doing, that is Kalyan railway station. So in that what we are doing, it's it's a local study that railway station have the skybox, for the connection to the station. So people, the street vendors, the small hawkers, they sit on the skybox for the vegetable selling, for mobile back covers, earphones. These are small thelas are there. Okay, so that decreases the sidewalks for like skybox size. So we as a designer or the planner, so what we have proposed, so whatever new station we are proposing, so we are actually giving the particular area for them, the area for their stalls, area for the people to stand, and area for the people to walk. So we are proposing that. So let's see, fingers crossed, people will,
Because
approve with the
what I have
plan.
noticed, I'm glad you're doing that, because what I have noticed is now, like somebody like me, when I write the redevelopment plan, right? The sidewalk, you would think it's just a sidewalk, right? Why are we thinking so much? Actually, no, the sidewalk is a very important thing to a project, especially a mixed use project. So what standards we have come up with is, within a sidewalk you need at least 4 feet, 4 to 6 feet for outdoor dining. So if there is a restaurant, I know that concept is not there in India as much, outdoor dining, but in United States, everybody wants to sit outside and enjoy being on the street, right? New York City is designed like that. So there is 4 to 6 feet minimum for outdoor dining. Then there is 5 feet wide in between for pedestrians to pass by, so that passing by traffic. And then you have another 4 feet on the side to allow like landscaping, so that there is some buffer between the travel lane and this. Sometimes that 4 or 5 feet is used for as a bike lane. It depends. So in every area it changes. If you are in a suburban area, it could be a bike lane and the pedestrian walkway could be shared. Some places the travel lane and the bike lane is shared, and it's called as the sharrows. There's a concept called sharrows. So there are various things that can be done, and they have to be done at planning stage, because once it's there is no point trying to solve a problem that is already created long back and the damage is done. We as planners have that important, or we have an effective tool to implement. So that's really great. A great job.
Yeah, but my one observation is right now we whatever we have in the city, it is developed, very long back. So whatever sidewalks we have, so if there is a sidewalk, you say of you know 6 feet or 10 feet, then and the store is attached, the store is right next to sidewalk. Apparently, the store person takes a 2 to 3 feet. I know, like just like that, and there is no space for walking. Plus, one thing more, that is here the sidewalks are not maintained that much. So even if there is no store now, the sidewalks are completely, the pavings are completely um, not in
Cracked.
maintenance and everything. So people don't use that. That is a problem.
Yeah, because see, I think
Yeah,
enforcement.
I don't know how to, how to, like, yeah, of course, when we plan new thing, it can be tackled. But right now, is it any option we can, make people to use it in a right way or something?
See, I think it's not an easy it's not an easy there's no easy solution to it,
Hmm.
because it's the same problem with most of the developed cities, right? The infrastructure was already developed, but I think what is different is here there is maintenance issues, and there are maintenance violations that are issued. So if you don't maintain the sidewalk, then it is a problem. And with each project, it depends. So when you are in a community, they will say that maintenance of sidewalk is the developer's responsibility. So that's when they create an association, and you pay dues as a resident. Like, I live in a community where I pay dues to the association. They maintain the sidewalks, they maintain using that money. In some places there is also taxation, like there will be a small percentage of tax that is levied on public right of ways, where that tax money is used to fix these sidewalks. In um, in US there is something called as the community development grant, wherein you can apply for a
Um,
grant yearly, and once you get that grant, that can be used to repair existing sidewalks. Plus, now if you are along a county road where there is sidewalk is required, or if you are along a road where, based on the master plan, circulation plan, the right of way width, it was longer, but now people have encroached. So anytime you need any approval from the township ensures that you give that piece of land back to the township, and you put in the sidewalk too. The maintenance of the sidewalk then becomes the township issue, but the township ensures that that dedication, right of way dedication, as planned, is given back to the township. So when there are older developments and they go through a redevelopment process, or they go through any changes on the site, this is the first thing that we ask for, that based on the master plan, this roadway was supposed to be 60 feet wide. Your property is encroaching into this piece by so much. We need X amount of feet. You have to take off your building from, or you have to push it back. So
Oh,
these are things that you can enforce over the years. Nothing will happen overnight. It is a process that will have to be, fine tuned as you go. But there are places which are already developed where there are encroachments. But me as the planner, the township engineer,
Meena,
ensures that those dedications are given. Yes,
yeah,
Nisha.
Meena, I just wanted to ask you, what is the agenda now for the next 20 minutes that we have? Because if we can just structure it and be a bit more, try to achieve what we need to do. So because there's a game between Portugal and Germany today. Football,
I mean,
the UFO Euro Cup, and everybody is
see,
what do you say, uh,
See, there
cheering Portugal.
See, there is, I appreciate your honesty, Nisha.
Right, right.
Actually, see, because this was going to be a presentation
Okay,
session, I really
right.
don't have anything planned and I was going to keep it open to discussion.
Correct.
But if you want to join, because there's nothing new I'm going to teach, we're just
Right,
discussing. If
right.
you feel free to, disconnect
All right.
and
Okay.
enjoy the game.
Right.
But there is nothing that I really planned, and that is why the last half an hour I kept it open.
Right, right,
So it's completely up to you. If anybody has any questions,
right,
ask me now. But Nisha, if you want to, jump off and
right.
just
No,
send
because I
me,
just wanted to ask you is now for the certification process, we have to submit the second assignment, right?
right?
Okay, okay. So that's the ordinances, the land under the land
Yeah.
use assignment.
Yes.
So is it
Yes.
okay? I don't know if Snehal can tell us. Is it okay if we can submit it tomorrow, being a Sunday by end of day?
I think
The,
it should be fine.
yeah, it's completely up to Veena to decide because
All
she
right,
has
okay,
to review it.
right.
It's
Because
fine.
I don't know when is the closure of this course, So is it okay if we submit it tomorrow by end of day because my assignment is still not complete?
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Okay,
Veena,
and
you decide on the closure of the submission date.
right.
So you
Post
know
that.
what? To keep to keep it convenient for everybody, let's do a week from now. So
Okay,
next by Saturday morning, submit everything that you need to submit to me.
that is Saturday morning. So the date is
Yes,
26th.
yes, that's correct.
Okay, fine, fine. Okay,
All
great.
right.
Yeah, yeah. So we have 1 week's time.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
fine, great,
All
perfect.
right.
Yeah,
Okay. Enjoy the show. Um,
yeah.
so
Veena, just tell me what was the layout that you were supposed to discuss. If it's quite interesting, I might just about delay my my viewing.
No, actually, we don't have time for the layout because we were talking so much about the redevelopment plan. It was a site plan review that I was going to discuss, and you know how
Okay,
community opposed it.
right,
So I thought because we have only 20 minutes left now, not even 20. So I
yeah,
thought I'll just go over with each person.
right.
And if you have any questions or anything you want to add to based on your own experience, then
Right.
feel free to, chime in.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Right.
Kokilavani, you want to go now? You want to talk?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you want to talk about your experience because I know you have been working in the field as well, right? And your experience is slightly different. So, you have anything to share, with others, me, or any question? So, did you
Uh,
decide on which
yes, I have
certificate?
almost like one.
I can't hear you properly.
Is it audible?
Yeah, now you are.
Yeah, yeah. So I have 1.5 years of experience in the urban planning sector so far,
Uh-huh.
and that's the main thing. And I have one more doubt here to discuss with
Sure.
you. So, what do you feel is the scope of geographic information system in the current urban planning approach? And how do you use your GIS technology in the ongoing projects? Do you customize based on your need, or you just use it as an end user with the available existing tools in the uh, like the software?
Related to the transportation system or in general?
No, this is for GIS, not about the transportation
Okay,
system.
okay. So basically, it depends, Kokilvani, on each township because there are some towns still in United States that are not using GIS, like the smaller towns. I have been fortunate that I've been working with bigger places that have extensive GIS data. So, like actually, where I worked before in the past as well as where I'm working, we've developed our own data over a period of time. So for example, storm water outfall, the outfall locations where there are catch basins right on the site, our engineering department actually went and got me the GPS coordinates for those locations. And then based on those X and Y coordinate, I went and I mapped it and created a new shape file and a new data in GIS itself. Same thing with in the past we have done with bike lanes. I have those, created shape files and added information on the length of the bike lanes in GIS. Then I have done in the past like bus shelters or electric charging station locations. So over a period of time, each one of us is building our own data, which helps us in the long run. The same thing with the state. The state is maintaining their own shape files and regularly updating them so that we as planners can rely on their data. Because like environmental data, all of that data, it comes from the state. Planning areas, smart growth areas, whether it's urban enterprise zone areas, this data is already available with the state. So the state has its own GIS experts. So for me as a township planner, I go and download that data and just clip it on to my township to see how it impacts my township. But then I am the one who's creating individual data. Like the state doesn't have anything to do with bicycle lanes in the township, right? So that's me. So I'm going and plotting those and I'm using it because when I look at a parcel, when I'm doing a redevelopment plan, I want to see where the wetlands are. I want to see where environmental sensitive lands are, or which environmental sensitive land needs a buffer because you can't build in those buffer areas. I want to see where bus stations are. I want to see where transit bus stops are. So having all these different layers obviously is helping me. And it's also helping me guide the residents. So what we do is the basic information in GIS is shared with the entire residents. So to give you an example, I'm just going to go to a website. Just wait. So just to share with you a quick example, here is the township's website. And here, if you notice, this is the property info in GIS. So this is shared with residents. Do you see it on the screen, the map? Right?
CAD one or GIS? Yeah,
No,
GIS.
it is a GIS map. So this one, if you zoom in to a particular area, right? This is where the town hall is. So if you click on this property, you will get all the information on the property based on the value of land, the block and lot number, and everything. So we have decided what data we should share with the residents, and only that much data shows up in this information window. But we have all the information, but not residents are not techno savvy, right? Even in spite of this, we get numerous calls where people say, what is the block and lot number? My address is so and so, So, but there is a lot of information here. We don't share the wetland information. People call us. So generally, somebody would call me to say that, I want to build something on my property, and are there any constraints? Can you look up and let me know? And then I help them out. So that's how GIS works here, at least.
Because currently India has been very popular about the GIS based master plans. There are a number of GIS based master plans are coming up currently. So what is your thought about it?
I mean, I don't know exactly I'm assuming this is what I have been doing is what India is doing in GIS as well, like creating your own layers, seeing the environmental constraints, and then writing master plans based on it. The master plans I shared with you were also based on GIS. I had all the GIS data, and especially your traffic and circulation is based on the GIS data, or your open space is based on the GIS data, like where you have critical land is mapped in GIS. So I'm pretty certain that that's exactly what you guys are doing. Maybe I'm doing at a micro level with the township, and you guys are working on bigger regional plans. I think that could be the only difference. But GIS is GIS, right? How can it be different? The use of it is going to be the same, right?
Yeah. And I would also like to thank you for providing me valuable suggestions on choosing the two courses which I had
Right.
shared
So
you
what did
through
you finally
email.
decide?
That was
What did
very
you
huge.
what did you finally decide out of curiosity?
GIS.
Okay, that's good.
GIS.
It's a very interesting field, and as you do your certificate, you will notice that there are other GIS related certifications as well. So it's a field which is developing each day and is getting more and more advanced. So it will be very fascinating.
Yeah,
Stay in
and
touch.
one more thing is like it has programming as one of it. Yeah,
Which
that's what I'm little scared about it.
I don't have exposure to programming myself, because I mean, my focus has always been, I've been very passionate about planning, so I never even tried or attempted. I know to create my data, and I know to map it. That's all I care about. But it'll be interesting. You stay in touch and let us know how you find programming.
Yeah.
All right, Javed, do you have anything to add?
I think rest of the time I'll only take.
Go ahead.
I have specific question, Veena. Like I have 15 years of experience. I completed my civil engineering, then I did my masters in urban planning very late. I have experience
There is
in
no late.
construction.
There is nothing called late.
Yeah, I've done my experience in construction management, project management, and quantity survey, where project cost control also comes in. 2016, I completed my urban planning. Now, India still it is a developing country. If you look up at the developed countries like Gulf, Japan, Canada, UK, and US also. So, do you think we have still any opportunity for us to look into it, or to plan to come there for study or to work? Or how do you guide if I look up, my career as working out of India?
See, actually, Javed, see, it's a very interesting concept, because uh, you are somebody who has gotten a degree in India, and I can relate to what you're saying to some extent, because few years back, I will not get into my personal life, but there was a time when I had to decide whether I had to move back to India or not for good. And when I was trying to decide, I was already 15 years into uh, living in the US. So, but it was a stage in my life where it was difficult to be in US, and it was like, okay, obviously my family wanted me to move back. And when I was deciding on whether I should move back or not, that was one of the prime reasons that I'm even here today. Because I kept telling my folks that, listen, I'm not an architect anymore in India. Although I might remember what I did, I have lost touch with architecture. So now, when I'm coming back to India, then as an urban planner, what is my scope? There are very, very few. And this is like few years back when there were even fewer firms. Like I knew only of like Louis Berger or Jacobs and all these firms that did urban planning. But then those firms too really didn't do urban planning in India. They were doing projects in Singapore or all those Asian countries, right? So, which means that yes, I physically relocate to India, but then I'm never there to spend time with my child because I'm working on projects in Singapore or in UAE. So, I didn't understand what was the reason. Plus, because I have expertise in the land use law here, it gives me the freedom to freelance. In India, there is no process like that which I'm familiar. I also had looked up out of curiosity because I was already working as a municipal planner here. So I had looked up to see that what happens if I join government in India. I have so much experience, I can add so much value to it. Guess what happened? I found out that government jobs have an age limit, and I'm way past cross the age limit. So, and I feel that's such a silly thing, right? Why should you have age limit for a township planner or a planner? In fact, experience or somebody who's coming from US with all this experience should be considered valuable, right? But that wasn't an option. And then when I started seeing that my career is a little dim on that side, I chose out of fear that, okay, I need to support my family. I need to be working. So I chose to stay here. And I don't know if it was a good option or not. Now, going back to your question, I mean, see, looking at Apurva, looking at Kokilavani, I see that there are planners. They are working in planning field, but it will be like maybe you will be part of a big development cooperation where urban planning is is a smaller section in that development. And then you're looking, like I know places where they're designing newer cities, like when Navi Mumbai was designed, right? They, I am sure, need planners, because how is it possible that they design this whole thing? They cannot design it with the help of a civil engineer and architect, right? You need a planner to have a vision. So I'm pretty certain, and Apurva, please jump in because you know about it better. I'm sure there are people like that. UAE is always a good option because I remember 10 years back when I was working for in a private firm, I had a Japanese friend, a colleague who used to work. And because he had experience in the US and, he had so much planning experience, he got a job in Abu Dhabi. And he was convincing me like anything, Veena, you should come because you know what, the perks are so good and they pay for your business class ticket to go back visit your home country, so you can visit India all the time and it will be. And I'm like, I have a kid, I have a husband, I can't just relocate like that, right? But at that time he went for 3 years. He came back, he's not even practicing planning because apparently the joke is that he made so much money in 3 years that he is freelancing now and doing projects at his free will and doing work at his free will. So there are other options. I myself, I always feel that I have a lot of experience in United States and I want to explore some other country, maybe Europe, because I get fascinated with the planning that has happened, or they've thought about the transit system and everything so many years ahead of us, right? So I always feel that, once my son is older and he's on his own, I want to go and work somewhere else to understand how planning works in other places. So it's an option. I think you already have a master's. You don't need to do another master's. And this is exactly what I told Kokila when she called me for guidance too. Because see, how much can you learn? You're going to learn the same concepts, but it's now time for you to do action and get into the physical planning part of it. Otherwise you'll keep earning degrees, but there has to be some stop to it, right? Because there are some things, like especially in United States and in India too, like alternate angle, there are continuing education programs where you can still be in touch with what's going on in the world, and you can take up a job as a planner and continue working as planner. Getting another additional degree is not an option, because you have a master's. What, having two masters, and this is what I hear from most of my colleagues too, because there was a time where I was tempted, and if Snehal is listening to me, I have discussed it with them all the time, that I wanted to do an MBA and see if I can move to a real estate development corporation as a land acquisition or land manager, because I already have experience with land use law. I already know how government works and how to get projects done when working with government. All I don't have, the missing piece or the missing information, is the money part of it, right? The how money plays a role. So I thought maybe an MBA helps. But then how much can you continue learning, right? I already studied in NYU. I already took a dual master's, not even a single master's. It was a dual master's for 4 years. So how much more can you study? And I thought, you know what? I'm happy with what I'm doing, because with experience, with age, anyways, I'm getting more challenging projects. It's not like I'm getting bored. So, it's an option you should look for. You should look for in India as well as outside. And also remember, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So sometimes we think that, okay, doing something else will put me in a better position. But there are some hard realities, like relocating once you have a family is a challenge too. And the cost of living, sometimes, like I live in New York. Okay. So New York has a very decent pay scale. But if you look at California, it's the same planner, the same experience. California pays much more than what New Jersey or New York would pay. But the cost of living in California and the taxes are also significantly higher. So when I look at the salary figure, I feel, oh, wow, I can make so much money there in California. But what I'm forgetting then is that the cost of living and the taxes are also higher. So there is, like, it's a huge decision you have to make. You have to do a lot of research, talk to people who are actually working in that field before you make that decision. With US, I can anytime guide you. With other countries too, I might have some knowledge, but it's something that you will have to weigh all the pros and cons to be able to decide. But pursuing another degree, because it will come with a heavy price too. A master's degree in United States per year will cost you at least $30,000, and which is quite a lot to pay off over a period of time. And 30,000 is the minimum I'm talking about. If I try to go back to NYU today, their fees is 65,000 for a year. So I would never even think of going to NYU at this age, at this stage. So, look at all the aspects. I would see, try to network within India too, because I feel it is not like it was a few years back when I was researching. India has grown immensely. I always see a lot of positive and a lot of scope for growth in India as well. And believe it or not, I myself always feel that once I'm in that stage where I'm more mobile, I want to work back in India too. So because I feel there are a lot of challenges and there can be a lot of things done too. So I
Would
don't know if
like to add something.
Yes, Apurva.
Kokilawani mentioned that right now in India, GIS-based master planning is coming up a lot. So even in Maharashtra, I'm talking about, there are a lot of regions, they are coming up with the tenders with the master planning, GIS-based master planning, which government is floating right now. So I'm sure there are actually a lot of opportunities for the planners, but it's just you have to keep searching and keep looking
It's
for the
all about
things.
networking, I feel. And
Yeah.
Javed, actually with GIS too, right? There is a software called QGIS, and QGIS is free. It is exactly like GIS. So I shared with you many of the places that have data online that you can download, right? So you can download that data and you can practice GIS and advance, because I feel that is one area which is going to grow over years. GIS is going to be like a part and parcel of planner's life, it's not like before where people were hand drafting. So there is something you can do in that. And for that, Kokilavani will hate me for this, but I had said this to her too. You don't need to go and pursue one more degree to do GIS unless you have other aims of just getting out of India. So that is why just look into it. But LinkedIn is a very good platform where you can network and find out what other, I know urban planners like American Institute of Certified Planners has their own LinkedIn following group. You can, probably like that, find out if there is a planning group in India itself, and you can be a part of it, because networking is what will get you something more interesting and challenging, since you have already a master's in urban planning.
Veena?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. I'm sorry, I took a break. The score is 1-1, so I came back.
But
Right. So
listen,
I just wanted to, before you all
Shah,
like wind up and close, I just wanted to thank you for sharing your experiences and your insights to us on the planning techniques and strategies in the US. It's been a
thank
very
you so
insightful
much.
venture, because a lot of things that were discussed were some things which I had not known earlier. Because I'm not a planner, right? So I've done my master's only in architecture, MR, right?
Right.
So planning has opened a new avenue for us to think upon and ponder upon. And this thing about getting opportunities, I feel, in
Yes.
today's context and time, as you rightfully said, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? Yeah,
Yes.
and we always feel it's like going to be very great once we immigrate or you go abroad and all that.
Right.
But then the situation is the same. I mean, once you
Right.
start working, you'll probably have your family, and then you have to pay your
Yeah.
taxes, and live way of basically spend on living, right? So
Right.
thereby it is almost the same, more or less the same. But what
Yeah.
I
That,
wanted to ask you is, in today's context and time, when everything is like online, and through the power of internet, we communicate with so many people and network with so many professionals. Is there any way, planners, architects, urban designers can collaborate remotely? That's what I'm looking at this point of time. Because
actually, Nisha,
sorry,
that has been in
right.
my mind, and
Right, because I feel
that is,
getting employed in a company and then working maybe so many years of your life and not being able to probably achieve what you want to achieve, is because, see, I feel, at a certain stage in life, any architect or planner develops their independent style of thinking, and even
right.
ideation, conceptualization, way of working, tools, GIS, all that. So, like, over a period of time, I have also developed my skills in GIS, ArcGIS, and even QGIS by all these online courses only. But
Right.
now I'm in the process of working, establishing certain workflows, on how to
Right.
create different types of analysis of maps and site plans, and how does that lead to certain policy making or decision making for the different agencies. So
Right.
this is what I'm working on currently, is basically to start a laboratory at the place where I teach.
Right. Right.
So that proposal has already been moved forward. We've asked for a lot of software and workstations, and designing a state of the art lab for GIS geomatics at
Right.
our institute. So that proposal, I worked on it the whole last week, and I submitted it to the HOD. So now these are the directions in which we are moving. But we have to think differently. If we want to survive and sustain
Right.
a competitive world like today. Because now
Right.
every third person or fourth person that graduates from an architecture school is a flourishing architect. And
Yeah.
then the numbers are increasing, of planners, architects. So how do you sustain an environment which is so
See, I
competitive?
think, see, for my, I'm at a stage where I
Right,
sometimes feel when I have interns working for me, they're so
right.
much more advanced technologically than me.
Technologically, right, right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but then obviously the experience plays an important role, right? You
Correct,
have
right, of
so
course,
much
yeah.
wealth of knowledge based on
Right,
experience.
right,
So an intern or a fresh graduate might
right,
know technologically, but not
right.
in real practice, right?
Correct, right.
So um, you know what, this collaboration and working remotely or working on projects internationally, this has been on my mind too.
Okay.
And you know, Snehal's team and I have discussed it in the past as well, and I'm
Right.
hoping that at some point we will be able to do, because
Right.
you know, I just feel, because I work with so many students, especially
Correct.
the students, planning students that have architecture background, have such a
Right.
wealth of knowledge that
Right.
it's
Right.
like really untapped right now. Because
Correct. Right.
when I went to school, there were people who were learning music and
Right.
whose major was in music, and they had come
Right.
to a planning school.
Right.
And I was
Right.
like, okay, what are they doing here?
No, I
But
did. In fact, when I taught in the earlier years of, I mean, I taught for almost 8 years now at at the College of Architecture in Goa, and in the second year, I organized a workshop on music and architecture. You know, it
oh
was a
wow.
very yeah, it was a very well, and we concluded with a grand performance. You know, where all my students performed on stage. You know.
Oh, okay.
Right, right.
Listen,
So,
guys,
and
I am
we did derive, what you say, similarities between architecture and music in terms of theories, principles, styles, eras, history, everything.
right, right, right.
Right. So it was a very well conducted elective. Right.
Great, great. All right, guys, I'm sorry to cut off, but I
Right.
do have
Right. Sure.
some prior commitments. But it
Great.
was lovely teaching you all. It was lovely interacting. Please stay in touch. I think this was one of the best things I've done in during the pandemic. So thank you so much. You know, we learn from each other. So thank you so much for
Hope to
attending.
connect soon.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi guys. Before you all wind up and say goodbyes to each other,
Right.
one last reminder. You have to please fill up the feedback form which Rutuja must have emailed you.
Okay.
So we require your valuable feedback about the course so that we can improve it further. And whatever we are conducting next, we can incorporate your suggestions into it. So please give your honest feedback, good, bad, whatever it is, because we all are learning. We all try to improve ourselves, and I think that will be a good way to be in touch also. And if you are interested in any other topics, please do let us know. And keep in touch with Alternate Angle Academy also with Veena, but with Alternate Angle Academy as well, so that we can meet on different platforms for different courses, and we can learn new things together.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We'll connect on LinkedIn, surely.
Sure. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah, ma'am. Bye. Bye, everyone.